At just 14 years old, this girl joined the 33rd United States Colored Troops. She taught soldiers to read, nursed their wounds, and helped clean and test their rifles. Do you know her name? Hi, I'm JR, your friendly neighborhood Civil War Reenactress, here with your latest edition of Keeping the Hysteria in American History. Well, here she is, and her name was Susie King Taylor. But it wasn't always. Born Susie Ann Baker, she became Susie Baker King when she married a soldier in the regiment, and finally, Susie King Taylor after her second marriage. 3 names, all courtesy of a system that ties women's identities to their husbands, and makes them awfully hard to research. Now, Susie was born into slavery in Liberty County, Georgia. Yes, Liberty County. I know, right? Susie was Gullah Geechee, part of the coastal southern black community whose heritage traces back to West and Central Africa. At age 7, her grandmother Dolly Reed brought her to Savannah, where she learned to read and write in secret. Because in antebellum America, it was a crime to educate enslaved people. Then, a year into the Civil War, at age 14, Susie escaped across Union lines. When the officers learned that she could read and write, they charged her with opening a school. So, Susie did. Susie spent the next 4 years attached to the 33rd USCT. And while her official job title was laundress, she also served as a nurse and maintained the regiment's weapons, firing them daily to, quote, see if the cartridges were dry before cleaning and reloading, unquote. And how do we know all this? Well, Susie wrote it down. Her 1902 memoir, Reminiscences of My Life in Camp, is the only known story published by a black woman who served in the Civil War. She wrote it because she knew what was at stake. She saw the United Daughters of the Confederacy trying to scrub slavery from school curricula. But that was her story, and she wasn't going to let them have the last word. A century later, Susie found a new champion to carry her story forward. Historian Hermina Glass-Hill moved to Susie's birthplace to found the Susie King Taylor Women's Institute and Ecology Center, where she continues Susie's legacy as an educator and uplifts the history of the Gullah Geechee community. In 2022, I visited the Institute to witness Hermina's work firsthand, and it matters now more than ever, because the heirs of the UDC are still in our classrooms. Susie learned their playbook, and so she put her story on the record. Hermina Glass-Hill is keeping that story front and center. So what part will you play in keeping the hysteria in American history?